January 27th, 1996. On this day, in a bustling island nation off the coast of mainland Asia, a universe was born. 151 pocket monsters exploded onto the scene. Each one had a unique appearance, fighting style, and forklift operating capabilities. These pocket monsters, quickly shortened to Pokemon, became a global cultural phenomenon. Whether or not someone wanted to find out about Pokemon, they had no choice. They had toys, TV shows, hard hat stickers. One single day led to a multi-decade, multi-billion-dollar franchise after capturing the hearts of children and forklift unions worldwide. 27 years have passed since that fateful day. 27 years, and nobody rose to the challenge of ranking these 151 Pokemon based on their forklift skills. Those 27 years end today. This is the ultimate Pokemon forklift tier list. First, let's break down each tier from the highest to the lowest. S tier. Any Pokemon in this tier is a near-perfect forklift driver and would operate the forklift better than any non-competitive forklift operator. A tier. Any Pokemon in this tier is an effective forklift operator. If Jeff Bezos had a team of these Pokemon in his Amazon warehouse, he wouldn't have anything to complain about. B tier. Pokemon in this tier can be effective drivers in certain niche situations or with modifications to the forklift itself. C tier. The Pokemon in this tier could operate a forklift, but probably wouldn't be very good at it. D tier. These Pokemon would suck at operating a forklift due to physical limitations and probably wouldn't be worth training at all. It can also include Pokemon that would be in higher tiers, but are brought down due to OSHA hazards. F tier. Letting any one of these Pokemon on a forklift would likely end in multiple fatalities. Untiered. These useless Pokemon are unable to even sit on a forklift. Now, with all the groundwork laid for this tier list, it's time to get started. Gotta fork 'em all! Venusaur! Untiered. We're starting off with an absolute unit of a Pokemon in Venusaur. Looking like this and coming in at over 220 pounds, I haven't seen anything like it since Jabba the Hutt went through his free spirit phase. Unfortunately, Venusaur can't fit on a forklift with all that junk in its trunk. Charizard! D tier! Charizard would be a solid B tier forklift Pokemon if it wasn't for the flame on its tail. Since forklifts usually run on propane, putting Charizard on a forklift would run the risk of causing an explosion, presumably killing Charizard and causing immense collateral damage. It wouldn't be too bad if you had an electric forklift though. Blastoise! A tier! Next up we have Blastoise. It's got good size, good strength, and 2 giant water cannons built into its back. They're perfect for putting out any fires that Charizard might have accidentally created and cleaning up the messes that Pokemon further down the list can make. Butterfree! F tier! Don't let looks fool you. Butterfree is a massacre waiting to happen. Its wings may look pretty, but they're actually covered in poisonous scales that can easily fall off. Just one whimsical flutter and BAM! Everyone around Butterfree's forklift is vomiting, suffocating, and losing consciousness. Sometimes, instead of asking ourselves, can this Pokemon operate a forklift, we need to ask ourselves, should this Pokemon operate a forklift? Beedrill! D tier! Beedrill is a bee with drills. Does that make any sense? No! Does it need to make any sense? No. Pidgeot! C tier! Pidgeot's gonna have a lot of trouble operating the forklift pedals with its large talons, but I've seen videos of parrots doing some pretty cool things before. I mean, if a cockatiel can do this, then I don't think it's a huge leap for a Pidgeot to operate a forklift. After getting certified by the National Forklift Foundation, of course. Raticate! B tier! It would take a ton of modifications to get this to work, but I think the payoff could be really worth it if you gave Raticate a shot. You could raise the forklift's pedals, push up the seat, and let Raticate do its work. Raticate gives off a hyper-focused tweaker energy that blends perfectly with forklift operation. And you can give it a little piece of cheese at the end of a very good shift to keep it motivated. Hold on, where does Pokemon milk come from? Fearow! Untiered! Imagine a bird operating a forklift. What kind of idiot could actually imagine a bird using a forklift? Arbok! D tier! Did you know? Arbok is just Cobra spelled backward. Ekans is just Snake spelled backward, and Race Car is just Race Car spelled backward. Ekans could probably figure out a way to run the forklift by using its body, but I can't trust a living creature that moves along the ground without any arms or legs. Pikachu, untiered. Pikachu may be the face of a multi-billion-dollar franchise, but child labor laws exist for a reason. Once it evolves, then we can actually assess this cute electric mouse's forklift abilities. But for now, we're gonna have to give this lovable mascot a pass. Raichu, D tier. Raichu. All my homies hate Raichu. If Raichu never existed, the world would be a better place. If anything goes wrong in my life, it's always Raichu's fault. I trip and fall, Raichu. It's raining outside, Raichu. My wife left me, it's Raichu. Nothing can change Raichu from being Pikachu's disappointing older brother. Sandslash, D tier. Not much I can say about Sandslash. I mean, it exists and slashes things. Not great for forklift operation, but if I ever needed a Pokemon to break down some cardboard boxes, Sandslash would definitely be my go-to. Nidoqueen and Nidoking, A tier. Slay, Nidoqueen! You dropped your crown, Nidoking! I'd like to apologize for subjecting you to those shitty one-liners. I didn't need to write those words to tell you that they're good at working forklifts, but I decided to do it anyways, so please forgive me. Clefable, B tier. Clefable would be an A tier operator if it wasn't for its hypersensitive ears. It can hear a pin drop from a kilometer away, so the loud sounds of heavy machinery would probably cause Clefable to have a complete mental breakdown. Give it a nice pair of earmuffs and Clefable might actually be pretty good. Or it might end up on the ground, writhing in agony. You never know until you try. Ninetales, A tier. Ninetales is smart enough to understand speech and has 9 powerful tails that it can use to control a forklift. These tails do have one slight downside that prevents Ninetales from being S tier though. If you touch one of the tails, you might end up with a minor 1000-year curse on you and your family. I wouldn't want to be the person making sure Ninetales has the proper protective equipment each day. Or their great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren either. Wigglytuff, C tier. There's nothing that special about Wigglytuff's forklift abilities. One of Wigglytuff's only quirks is that it loves to inhale air to inflate itself like a balloon. It's not the biggest deal to most people, but you should probably keep Wigglytuff away from that weird coworker who really likes balloons. Golbat, F tier. After you put this Pokemon on a forklift, it's all fun and games until Golbat gets hungry. You look away for 1 second, and when you look back, Golbat is clamped down on your coworker's jugular and sucking their blood. Hopefully, Golbat would let go quickly, but let's be honest here. I don't think a band-aid would help 2 gaping holes in a major artery. Vileplume, F tier. The giant petals on top of Vileplume contain highly toxic pollen. As these petals bounced around as a normal part of forklift operation, the poisonous and paralyzing pollen would get released. After a full shift of happily driving around the warehouse, most of Vileplume's coworkers would be paralyzed or dead. Parasect, F tier. We've got a streak going, boys. Parasect's body is controlled by the giant parasitic mushroom on its back. This parasite is more concerned about useless things like obtaining nutrients than operating heavy machinery. It also scatters poisonous spores wherever it goes, which isn't ideal if the warehouse workers want to be alive, or whatever unreasonable requests they're making these days. Venomoth, F tier. 4 in a row, let's go! Venomoth's wings are covered in scales that are either poisonous or cause paralysis. Just like Butterfree, a simple flap of Venomoth's wings in a crowded area would cause a mass casualty event. Dugtrio, untiered? Apparently, Dugtrio is a set of triplets that came from a single body. Scientists have never seen what this body looks like, even though people have been using shovels since the Stone Age. We do have this artistic render of what Dugtrio might look like, but until we know for sure, we have to put it in the untiered category. Meowth, untiered. In the Pokemon anime, Meowth controlled countless mechs alongside Team Rocket. Working a forklift is a walk in the park compared to some of these mechanical behemoths. Meowth would be a solid B tier if it wasn't for those pesky child labor laws. Persian, D tier. If it fits, it sits. It won't do much else though. Golduck, C tier. There's nothing that would make Golduck a bad forklift driver, but there's not much that would make it good either. My biggest complaint with Golduck is that it isn't gold, but it is in fact blue. I can't trust a Pokemon that would blatantly lie to us and expect to get away with it. We're on to you, Golduck. Primeape, A tier. Primeape is ripped, pissed off, and ready to operate a forklift. It can let out its pent-up frustrations by lifting some heavy shit, just like any good blue-collar worker. I'd rather have Primeape on my crew than a dollar store Joe Rogan who listens to Sigma Male podcast and totally isn't juicing, bro. Arcanine, untiered. Arcanine is a huge fire-type dog Pokemon, and according to this guide I found online, the dog goes woof woof. Poliwrath, S tier. Poliwrath has 120 pounds of muscle and almost 0% body fat. It's probably as strong as an ant if an ant was the size of a leprechaun. I'm not even sure what that means, but I do know Poliwrath would be a superb forklift operator. Alakazam, S tier. Just like Elon Musk, Alakazam claims to have an IQ of 5,000. Unlike Elon Musk, Alakazam has psychokinetic powers that make its otherwise weak body super strong. Elon names his kids like he's pressing random buttons on a Pokemon's nickname screen though, so I guess he's got that going for him. Machamp, S tier. Big, muscly Pokemon with 4 arms and barely any clothing. Machamp is a forklift fanatic's dream come true. Many people have told me that they want to be held by a Machamp with its extra arms while it operates a forklift. I'm told it's a very common and perfectly normal fantasy for someone like me to have. Victorybell, F tier. Victorybell lures its prey with sweet smells. Once it's close enough, it captures the unsuspecting person inside its mouth and starts dissolving the person with acid. Victorybell is known to use the nutrients from these partially dissolved victims in evolution rituals to create more Victorybell. So if you notice your coworker missing and a lot more Victorybells around the warehouse, you might want to notify OSHA. Tentacruel, D tier. If I've learned anything from Japanese media, it's that giant tentacle monsters can do more things than you think. This would be good for Tentacruel's forklift rating if it didn't exclusively live in the ocean. Golem, C tier. Golem isn't as heavy as I thought it would be, and there's no reason why it couldn't learn how to operate a heavy-duty forklift. This Pokemon does have a pesky habit of blowing itself up though. Without these potentially fatal explosions, Golem would be a B tier Pokemon, so let's just split the difference and give it a C. Rapidash, untiered. A horse on a forklift? A forklift on a horse? A fork on a horse lift? None of these make any sense! Slowbro, B tier. Slowbro is stupid and it is dumb. Slowbro needs someone to tell it what to do, but Slowbro is good when that happens, even though it is stupid. Ha 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 ha! What do I read next? Magneton, D tier. The magnetic field that surrounds Magneton destroys any electronics that enter the field. And since that magnetic field has a radius of 1 kilometer, you can kiss your warehouse's entire computer system goodbye. However, since Magneton only annihilates computers instead of people, we have to keep it in the D tier instead of the F tier. Farfetch'd, C tier. Farfetch'd? More like fart-fetched. This Pokemon is basically a duck that can use its wings like hands. It's too small to be very effective, but just like Pidgeot, it can find a way to get the job done. Just not that well. Dugtrio, A tier. You'd think that Dugtrio couldn't operate a forklift well, but once I actually sat down and thought about it, Dugtrio would be an excellent forklift driver. It has long legs perfect for using the pedals, and Dugtrio could use its 2 extra heads to steer and pull levers while the 3rd head looks around. It's unconventional, but I don't see why it wouldn't work. Dugong, D tier. If you put this marine sea animal on a forklift, it would probably just sit there. I mean, it's pretty adorable, but it doesn't really do much in a working environment. Muck, untiered. Did you know? Arbok is just Cobra spelled backward, Ekans is just Snake spelled backward, and Muck spelled backwards is Cloyster, D tier. Cloyster is kind of similar to Dugong. If you put it on a forklift, it would just sit on the chair. It's not good for much else if you actually want to get things done. But its shell can survive a missile strike, making it an acceptable Pokemon to withstand some extreme union-busting tactics. And that's all for today. I hope you understand that this monumental undertaking needs to be split up into 2 videos. As John F. Kennedy once said, we choose to make a Pokemon forklift tier list not because it is easy, but because it is hard. I'll have the rest of the original 151 Pokemon ranked in the next episode for the final tier list. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to see more. See ya!